Greetings, Retro Zoltan here. I collect a lot of handheld gaming units, and I try to find some unique ones, but this, well, you just have to see to believe. Presenting the Powkiddy V5 hand warmer, battery bank, and game console. I'm not kidding, this is a thing. And before I dive right into it, I'm figuring since this is the second strangest handheld I've encountered, I should probably come up with a good name for videos and weird handhelds. Something like the Retro Zoltan Bizarre series. Or just, why? Yeah, those are bad. Okay, well, this is a concept in the works, I guess. Let's get started. My first strange handheld ever was a gift that I still take out and look at today. It's definitely a review I had a good time making a few years ago. I recommend you watch it if you really want a good laugh. It's not every day you see a handheld with an analog clock and compass built in, but the Powkiddy V5 feels even more bizarre, even though it may be more useful to you. The Powkiddy box that this comes in is pretty nice. It's a taste of what Ambernick would do anyway. It comes with a charging cable, directions, and some odd paperwork. And I just realized now that the outside of the box says, "Games make happiness Easter." Oh, wait. Oh, that's easier. Okay, well, that's an I. What a lousy font. The Powkiddy V5 comes in, well, just pink. Just looking at it sort of reminds me of, I don't know, like a pink polar bear or something? It sort of looks like a pig, kind of. One side, anyway. On side A, you can see what I mean here. It's got eyes for sure, and it has ears, which are a nice rubber. It's hard to tell exactly what the design really was trying to do in this, but its own way, I guess it's cute. What do you think? On side B, which is a painted metal, is, well, another face with eyes winking at you. It certainly looks cute, and just leaving it on the table, I would wonder what people would think it is. Maybe a phone or like a pink mouse, perhaps? It's bizarre right off the bat that each side has a face. But whatever, it's two-faced. From AliExpress, you can pick this thing up for an average of $30 US. A lot for a possible family clone. But since it's a 3-in-1, this may be justifiable. I guess we're going to find out. So let's look at this thing more closely. Back to side A, which I'll call the console side. It looks plastic, but mostly the surface is a painted metal too, which is kind of impressive. This comes complete with a D-pad, which in all ways feels horrible. It's too mushy and feels super cheap. It has that recycled child toy plastic feel that I don't really enjoy. And I'm guessing playing games are going to be troubling at best. The cleverly shaped ABXY buttons feel exactly the same, and I'm kind of doubting I'm going to have a good experience here. The OK button, which I believe is start, and select buttons are standard clicky buttons I have no issue with. It also has a 2.8-inch screen as well as a small mono speaker at the bottom left. Not much more to say here. If you're holding it like a console, the top has multiple things going on. There's a heater switch which has two modes, slightly warm and slightly warmer. These are indicated by the LEDs right next to it. There's also a charging port if you want to plug something into the battery bank for recharging. There's also a volume switch, which I'll get into later, and a simple on-off switch. The bottom rocks a TV jack that would have been useful if they included the cable. I just happen to have one that may be compatible, so I'll try that later. There is also a control port, which is the old school mini USB, a reset button for what I'm guessing is for the games, and that's it, nothing more to see here. So let's talk about the hand warmer. As I mentioned before, there's a button on the top that you push, and as a safety measure, you have to hold down the button for 5 seconds to start the heating process. Honestly, that's pretty smart if you think about it. The last thing you want is this thing heating up on you by accident. I believe the documentation says it can get up to 60 degrees Celsius, which is like 140 degrees Fahrenheit, but turning it on all the way, it's definitely getting warm, but not reaching anything higher than 90 degrees. It's definitely warm though. You could probably melt an ice cube eventually. This kind of worries me though. Isn't it bad to heat up rechargeable batteries? If these are lithium in here, won't the heat, I don't know, cause an explosion? I asked Google real quick and it told me lithium-ion batteries should never be kept operated or charged in hot environments. It's recommended that the ideal temperature for lithium-ion batteries is a cool, comfortable 15 degrees Celsius. So I'm guessing these are bombs ready to go, or they're not lithium. And in my research, Powkiddy fails to mention what kind of rechargeable batteries are in this thing. I asked Powkiddy directly and I'm still waiting for an answer. If there's a sudden recall,
you didn't see anything.
Whatever kind of battery, it feels a bit risky if you ask me, and I'm probably not going to mess with the heater again in this thing. Which brings us to the battery bank, which is pretty basic and fairly handy if you ask me. Since it's a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, I'm guessing this could charge up a phone without much of an issue. You just plug in whenever convenient and it starts charging automatically. I tried a few things and it does indeed charge whatever you plug in. I wonder if this thing could charge itself. I suppose that's risky also. I'm mostly interested in the gameplay here, but I already have low expectations because it's boasting 520 games in one. If you know the scene at all, you already know this is going to be a Famiclone, a sort of collection of games no one's going to fight over, or ROM hacks that change the game enough to make it feel kind of legal. So let's see what we have here. Yep, it's a Famiclone. The immediate music in the Chinese-English menu is a huge indicator here. The music is pretty loud, and your best bet is to hit the volume button as soon as possible. Being the least popular type of volume control, however, you have to push it twice to get it to shut off. Every time you turn on your system, you're going to have to do this unless if you like this music. I'm not a huge fan. Pressing the OK button brings you to the usual menu of games. These, as expected, are all Famiclone NES games. I would argue these are the easiest to emulate. And it's chock full of Konami games, which in my opinion were the best back in the day. If you don't like Contra, there may be something wrong with you. Well, if you were raised on Nintendo Entertainment System. And I believe I spent a good portion of my childhood playing Life Force with my friend Tim. Too bad there's no way to have two players here. Wait, I forgot there's a controller port for this thing. But try as I might, I can't find one in my collection that's using mini USB, or one that you can get from Powkiddy for that matter. Maybe they were going to, but couldn't, or maybe it's hanging out with the TV cable somewhere. Disappointing. Anyway, I would assume maybe about 40% of the games here are good, and others are just fillers and obvious repeats. Don't get too excited by the selection here, but it does have a few that you're hoping for. The selection here isn't too bad. Some obvious ripoffs like Plumber, which is Mario of course. There's even a Plumber Brothers in the list somewhere. That's the original Mario Brothers for Nintendo if you really want to go old school. They certainly mix up the order enough to hide the repeats. They're certainly here. Still, the menu is messy enough to want to explore it, honestly. Loading up these games works fine, and the speed of most are spot on. Controls, as expected, are horrible. The ABXY buttons aren't nearly as bad as the D-pad, and it's just really hard in my experience to get the angles quite right. Want to climb a ladder? Good luck with these controls. Also, as a quick note, you would figure the X and Y buttons would be useless for NES games, but they're mapped to be turbo buttons, so if you want a bit of an advantage, it's there. There was also something that I found disturbing when I did choose to turn up the volume, and maybe it's because it's a weird vibration or something because it's a metal case, but there's a buzzing that's just unsettling. I'm guessing this is just a quality thing, and what's worse is there's no headphone jack to possibly avoid this. The TV option, as expected, works, but don't expect much here. With the cable, you're not going to get very far. It's still an option people might want, so I'll just keep my mouth shut. So it's 3 devices in one of them possibly a fire hazard if you're not careful. And as cute as this thing is, it's just too risky to use in my opinion. And what you're getting for games, you can get on a more trustworthy system. Avoid this even though it's pink and cute and innocent looking. Don't be fooled. The worst feature, sadly, is the game console, which is what I was most curious about. But in the end, it's just another Famiclone, one with bad controls. Seriously, they're not that good. I'm not sure why Powkiddy made this. They even boast on their website that they're committed to product research and development to meet market demands. The world wanted this? Are you sure? And that's all I have to say about the Powkiddy V5 hand warmer, battery charger, and game console. This is a weird one, but is there something even more bizarre? I'm sure of it. Thanks for watching, thanks for your support, and as always, I'll see you next time. Bye.